That moment when you realize that these men are actually in middle school. The fight. I was like some in-game boss shit. When you saw the Body Improvement Club just walk up onto the battlefield, and you just see the close-ups on their face, and you hear the music, shit gets real. Like, shit just hit the damn fan. Like, when they walk up, you're like, oh shit, oh my god, like, these badasses are here. These people that just have so much muscle are here. And the music was just so dramatic. It made the scene so fucking funny, but badass, because these men just go in, and they're just there to save Mob, just get him out of there, and they're not there to really fight. They're not wanting to be savages or anything like that. They're just going in to grab Mob, and they weren't going to fight at all anyways, but then they started fighting him, and they just start beating the crap out of everybody. You just hear everybody getting slugged around like rag dolls, just getting grabbed up by one hand, and they're just being pulled up. I mean, overall, the entire fight is just absolutely badass. Just seeing the Body Improvement Club just go in and wrecking shit like nothing. It was just incredible, because it was like, majority of the episode, it was kind of like a comedy. And then you got that right there, and you're like, I know it's supposed to be funny, which it is, but then it's so dramatic because of the music, and you just can't help but laugh and be awed by how awesome it is. So yeah, just the Body Improvement Club, life goals right there. Like, that's some life goals. Getting muscular as them at that age, like, holy fuck. Why am I not that muscular? Like, well, I should be doing what Mob is doing right now. Why didn't I join the Body Improvement Club to get that fucking badass? Like, what the hell? Anyways, this episode has, once again, another reoccurring pattern. And I've briefly discussed this in the past, in the earlier portions of my anime reviews of Mob Psycho 100, and that is how there is a lot of characters that are wanting to use Mob. If we look at the entirety of the cast, like almost every single character besides Mob's brother, everybody pretty much wants to use Mob. Now, actually, the Body Improvement Club doesn't want to use him either, so I guess I'll count them as well alongside the brother of Mob. So, just besides the Body Improvement Club and Mob's brother, everybody else has wanted to use him for their own gain throughout the entirety of this series. Even in this episode, one of the biggest spotlights is how many characters want to use Mob, or how these characters want to use people. And I find this very interesting, the way one is trying to kind of direct the storytelling of the series. If there's two things going on here right now in Mob Psycho, it is the fact that Mob is kind of has some surprising depth to his character, and he's someone that is trying to get a clue and try to fit into society. But on the other hand, you have it to where many people are trying to use others or use Mob for their own personal gain, which is kind of how, society actually works. That's how corrupt humans really are. Many humans will decide to leech and feed off of others to be able to strengthen themselves and allow them to kind of accomplish more things in the future. That happens all the time. It happens in everyday life and work environments and all that. And when you think about it like that, this is such a very realistic outlook on how the nature of our society is, and I love how one does that, because if we look at One Punch Man is like a deconstruction of shonen, and it's kind of a satire on certain things too, and then with this, it's like a satire on real life, how society works and operates with people that do not fit in amongst the crowd, and I love the different outlooks and perspectives on Mob throughout this entire episode. So we have two perspectives. For one, actually no, we have three perspectives now that I think about it. You have the perspective of Mob of how he's just trying to fit in, and he's wanting to, figure out how he can kind of fit in with everyone, and he's not getting a clue. And then you have the perspective of Mob's brother that views his brother as the standard, someone that is normal, when we know for a fact that when Mob is compared to everyone else in society, he is not normal. He's actually abnormal. He's, the outcast of society. And then you have someone like the Spirit, the Dimple, I think that's his name. He wants to use Mob for his own personal gain. He wants to kind of cozy up to Mob, make him his best friend, and then he wants to use Mob for he can become, God, or, control Mob's body. And so you have these different outlooks on Mob's character and how people view him, and I really like that. I like getting to see the outside perspective of Mob and the inside perspective of him. It adds an interesting layer of characterization, especially when you look at, how Mob's brother views him. He's like, all my entire life, I have viewed Mob as someone that is normal. He is the standard. And I've always wanted to be able to have psychic powers. And you see this internal monologue as he's talking to himself, and he's like, I couldn't. And he's like, psychic powers aren't that cheap. It isn't that easy. And he views his brother as someone he looks up to. He looks up to his brother quite a bit, and he wishes he could kind of be like him. But when you compare the both brothers together, Mob's brother is almost everything better than Mob, besides the psychic abilities. And it's kind of sad when you view something like that. It's another outlook on how society is, how unequal society is when it comes to different people that are born, even in the same family, and even siblings. Look at Mob's brother, and then look at Mob. They have similar heights, and, you know, they kind of look a little bit different, but overall, there's very distinct differences when it comes to what they do in society. For instance, Mob brother, he's outgoing, he's popular, he's a part of the student council, he's in the know, he knows what is going on, he has a clue, and he's someone that is kind of a natural person that's popular in society. And he doesn't have psychic powers, which is abnormal. And then you look at Mob. Mob doesn't have anything really going for him. He doesn't know how to get a clue. He doesn't really have anything going for him when it comes to being popular, women, or anything like that. And only thing he really has is psychic powers. And when you look at these different things, it's just so sad, but also it's just so cool to see how one goes into these type of character traits with these two characters, and how he lets us view Mob's entirety of his character. So, Mob Psycho 100, once again, dives more into Mob's characterization, and I really respect that quite a bit. So, besides that, talking about other things, too, Reagan, oh my god, Reagan's entire scene in this episode when he is trying to get rid of a spirit inside of a photo, I almost busted a gut in that scene. I mean, the body improvement scene was pretty damn good, but when I saw Reagan get a picture, and then he gets on Photoshop to exercise it, and he's removing that, I was like, yo, Reagan, I'm dying right now, like, I'm straight up dying, because as you all know, I use Photoshop all the time. I use Photoshop to make thumbnails and stuff, and when I'm seeing this man straight up trying to remove shit from a picture, and when he's trying to make it look like he's removed like an evil spirit from it, I was just laughing. I'm like, oh my god. I mean, Reagan, he can do so much crazy stuff, but he cannot be a psychic. I'm like, out of everything he is, he's not a psychic. And I'm like, oh my god, it's too funny. And then Dimple, too. I like Dimple's characterization. I mean, he seems like he's going to be an interesting character, and I'm glad he's kind of part of the main cast. I like seeing a spirit that was kind of evil necessarily, you know, last week's episode, and maybe he might become good over time. He might become someone that really does support Mob in the future. And I do like the characterization he got in this episode, and seeing how he was just hanging around Mob, and how Mob was like, oh, I just want muscles, and then you see Dimple's like, what the fuck is he saying? Like, the face he made was just 10 out of 10. Best face of the episode, besides the Body Improvement Club. So, getting off of that, what else is going on? So, we have a fight, an actual fight that's hyped up at the end of the episode between two psychics, Mob and this new character that's introduced that wants to use everyone and become pretty much like the top dog. And you get to see the differences between these two characters, which once again I have to go back into the way one is trying to make us view Mob as a character. Mob is a social outcast. He's someone that doesn't have anything going for him. And when you look at this other character with the blonde hair, he is very similar to Mob because he has psychic abilities, but he has everything that Mob doesn't. It's like Mob's brother and Mob fused together into one person, and that's what this character is. He's someone that's very popular, people look up to him, they respect him, and he has psychic abilities, and he will use them, and he will also actually be different from everyone else, but he also fits into society. I really like the way one is making us view these two characters and how different they are in this episode. So, yeah, fantastic episode. Fantastic episode of Mob Psycho 100. So overall, I think the episode, it had some very good moments. Probably some of my favorite moments so far from the series. I personally prefer last week's episode over this episode because of, you know, what we got with Mob's personality. That was something I just didn't expect. Now, granted, this episode was very good, and it dives more into the aspect of his personality, and I'm fine with that. But like I said, I just love the introduction to how he goes into these fits, and he just, you know, breaks down and he lets his emotions leak out. I love that aspect of the series. So, I personally still believe believe that last week's episode was better, but this episode had a lot of good moments, some of my favorite moments so far from the anime, and I can't wait to see what's going to happen next, especially with Mob versus this dude that has psychic abilities. I mean, Mob, he doesn't want to hurt people. He doesn't want to use his psychic abilities on people, so he might just take blows from this guy and not even do nothing about it. I mean, that's the type of person that Mob is, so we'll see where it goes. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. You all have a wonderful day or night wherever you live. Please be safe. Chibi out.